Welcome everybody to the PA Forum podcast, Stories Beyond the Desk. I'm delighted today to be joined by our very special guest, Fiona Boyd, Director of Operations at JW Hinks. Thank you so much for joining us, Fiona. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Nervous, but good.
No, it's really great to be able to spend some time with you. And I think what I love is most recently as well, you've achieved one of your kind of biggest ambitions, which is that I know you've always been really passionate about job title and opportunity and future, and having that Director of Operations title is something we're going to talk about a lot later on. But let's get to know the real Fiona first. So I always like to take this opportunity at the very beginning of the podcast to get to know you a little bit more. So can you tell us a little bit about who is Fiona Boyd?
Gosh, I don't know. Who's Fiona Boyd? Mum of two girls. I've got a big family.
Yeah.
I've got stepchildren and I'm a glamorous granny. So I've got 8 grandchildren.
8?
As well. 8, yeah.
What's the age?
Oh gosh, my eldest grandson's 18.
Yeah.
So he's just about to turn 18, right down to Georgie, bless him, who's about 8
Wow.
now, yeah. So, yeah.
So have you got a big family of brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so there's 4 of us. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
2 brothers and a sister. So so I've always come from a big family, you know, both personally and then obviously marrying into the Boyds.
And so Boyd, is it a Scottish name?
Yeah, so my maiden name's Armstrong, so
Yeah.
I was born in Glasgow, as you know. And Bob, his family's all from Dumfries way, so that's a
Oh, is
Boyd.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Bob's,
wow,
yeah,
okay.
Boyds are from Dumfries,
So, yeah, as you will probably know, Fiona has an amazing Scottish accent.
which I'm not about to demonstrate.
No, but
yeah.
you're proud of your Scottish
I
roots,
totally
aren't
am.
you?
I'm very patriotic, yeah.
And
yeah.
literally, your family are quite a military family, aren't they?
Yeah. My brother's in the army, he's just retired from the army, and my sister was in the army. My brother-in-law was in the army, and all his family was in the RAF and the Navy as well.
So was there any pressure on you, like, as you were growing up, to kind of
No.
fulfil that whole family military?
No, it wasn't for me. My sister, Morag, she was always passionate about going into the army. So from a young age, she left at 16. And my younger brother, William, he followed suit when he became of age. But it was never really for me. I don't think I could have anybody sort of dictating to me and shouting at me. So.
Neither could I, babe. Could you imagine?
I
Oh,
know.
my God. But Morag has now, so she's got a hotel in Scotland, hasn't she?
She has, yeah. So Morag, she was in the army, met Steve, who was in the army, sergeant in the army. They moved to Hong Kong. They spent some time in Hong Kong for the handover. And then when they came out of the army, when Steve retired, they went back to Steve's hometown in Newton Stewart in Scotland and bought a hotel. And she's been running the hotel for 20 years now.
What's it like? Because I know we've got a lot of people who will be watching this podcast who have either served in the military or have family in the military. What is it like having family? I mean, I haven't ever had a family member in the military.
Yeah.
But what is it like? I can't imagine what it must be like when they're away, kind of.
Well, Billy's done tours in Afghanistan, so that was really nerve-wracking. We were all on, on tender hooks, really, watching it. And he did 2 tours of Afghanistan. So when he got back, we were thinking, oh, thank God, kind of thing. Yeah. But then he went again. It was really hard on my mum, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, he came back safe when lots didn't. So that was hard.
Yeah.
Morag and Steve was in the Falklands, but Morag never did that. Yeah. So for me personally, I only ever experienced the good side. I always went to the parties, the balls.
There's lots of parties, are there?
It was amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Yeah, Morag and Steve were based in Kiel. In Germany for a number of years, so we would go out.
Well, I'll never forget when I was actually working in Marmaris in Turkey at the time, and it was when we were going to, the Americans were about to invade Iraq. And I remember sitting in a coffee shop, it was like a February time, and I looked out to sea and I'd never seen an aircraft carrier.
Oh, they come in, don't they? Yeah.
So the aircraft carrier was outside the protective bay,
I've been
and
there
then
and
the Navy ships, the smaller naval ships came in and docked within the Marmara, and literally Bar Street, which was closed in the winter time, there were thousands and thousands of Marines.
Wow.
I mean, I had a great time.
Yeah.
I had a brilliant time. It was absolutely fantastic. But obviously, when I was that young, I was only 18, 19 at the time. I don't think I appreciated obviously what was actually happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, to come from that background, was your parents, were they?
No, not mum and dad. No, it was literally more. She'd always wanted to, because we grew up in a really small village up in Yorkshire. There wasn't a lot, I come from not a privileged background or anything like that. So she was keen to get out that sort of, small town mentality up in, Yorkshire, farming sort of community. So she was, army was for it really. And I think William, because of Steve as well, my sister's husband, I think he saw the benefits. I mean, I travelled with Morag and Steve, as I say, I went to Germany and all of that all the time.
Wow.
So Billy saw that, my brother William, and it was for him. And he finished as a WO2, so he finished sort of like as a at the top of his rank.
Wow.
For next for him was to be commissioned to officer, so he couldn't go any higher.
How do you find that, like, being around people like family members that have been in the military after they've come out of the military? They must find it quite difficult, I guess. We were talking before in one of our other podcast series about, Rhiannon was talking about, she loves being a teacher, she loves working within education because she loves structure, a discipline, kind of routine. Whereas you kind of like, once you come out of that, it's kind of all gone.
Yeah, Morag was only in for a short time because she joined as a private and Steve was at a higher rank, sergeant rank. So it was very difficult for her. So her military career ended quite short, although she worked for the army and travelled around the army.
Yeah.
Billy, he was really successful. He's done like really secret stuff.
Yeah.
And he's worked his way up, and as I say, he was like top. He works for Whitehall now down in London. But Billy's very regimental, and I, as a family member, I find that really difficult because I'm like, oh, how are you? All right? Do you need anything? Family.
You're light, fluffy.
Yeah.
Like to kind of
is everybody okay? And I can read the room. I think I can read the room a lot. Which helps in my career.
Yeah.
But Billy is very black and white, and if it's no, it's no.
Have you ever had any bosses that are like that? Without kind of highlighting anyone in particular.
No, I don't think I have. Gosh.
It's quite a big personality. It's quite a big personality to work with. But I think when you are quite a fluffy, put some meat on the bones type of person, like we both are, you want that kind of. We were talking about emotional intelligence on another podcast. That emotional intelligence is a really important piece.
I'm annoyed. I annoy my boss. I annoy Dan and Neil because I'm like, but why? Okay, can you do that? Okay, yeah, that absolutely. Why? Why do you need this? Why do you want that?
Yeah.
What's it for? What's the end game? Where William, the military side is like, you tell William to do something or more, they just do it. They don't care what it's for.
That's it.
Where I'm the opposite. I have to know why and where. So very different.
But when you were growing up, Santa delivered you.
Yes.
What did Santa
deliver? You said to me earlier, you said, what did you want to be? I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to be.
Had you ever seen like somebody being a PA? Like, did you see it on telly, or did you see it like? Did you ever know anyone that was kind of PA? What made you? What was it really? The thing that really wanted you to? Was it the thought of kind of supporting people and helping people and solving problems?
Well, at the time, I just wanted to be able to have a skill in touch type. I wanted to have that, and I wanted the pencil sharpener, the pencil sharpener. I wanted that. So I think it was that. My Auntie Margaret, God bless her, she worked in a school. So my mum and dad weren't professions. My dad was a pipe fitter, plumber. My mum didn't work. She worked in a care home. As I say, we came from not a very privileged background. Yeah. My mum had 2 jobs. So it was we moved from Scotland when we were young, 4 children, down to, near Lincoln and Doncaster, sort of really small village. So mum never had a career. I'd never really experienced that. My dad obviously worked all hours as a plumber. He worked away actually. He would work away 4 weeks at a time and just come home one weekend. So mum had all 4 children, so it was very difficult, and I saw that. But my Auntie Margaret worked in a school. I don't know if this was it, but she worked in a school, and she worked in the office, and I used to think, oh my gosh, my mum don't do anything. My mum works, in a carers. And then as a young age, I remember we had an experience where, I don't know if we, playground, or, I'd get called in and they'd say, oh, do you want to have spend some time in the office at school? I was only about 6 or 7 and I would sit in the office in the chair.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh gosh, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So whether it was those experiences, I don't know. But all of my siblings, we've always wanted to do well and get out of the one-horse town and move on.
Yeah.
So maybe it was that, but I do know that I wanted to be able to touch type.
Now you think about a typewriter.
I know, yeah.
I remember when I was a holiday rep, I met this amazing woman called Wendy Wilson. She was one of the first holiday reps, and she used to have to carry around resort a typewriter in a suitcase,
Really?
so that she could type the times that she was going to be in the hotel, print them, put them up on the board.
Oh my gosh!
And for me, when I was sat there in my office doing duty times for my reps, I couldn't believe that that's what she used to do.
Wow, she used to carry it
Yeah,
around.
so she used to have to used to come in like
Yeah,
a,
remember,
in a
yeah.
case and you just flip it in
Yeah.
and carry it around. That's what she used to have to carry with her. And I was thinking, oh my God, you just don't realise
Wow.
So that's how you learnt to touch type.
Yeah, so I got a typewriter and I got a desk and all of that. So I think I've always wanted to be organised. And then when I was 6, so I was a neighbour actually. So I was working in a cafe and they wanted me to sort of say I'm doing an apprenticeship in some cafe. Again, this is a really one-horse town kind of thing. But my neighbour, Dennis, worked for Trap Marshall and they've got a subsidiary company called Compact Systems, which was owned by Tom Walkinshaw, who was one of the directors of the Arrows,
wow.
Formula One cars. And so the factory, he had his private collection of cars then.
Private collection.
He did.
God, wow.
And Dennis was one of the engineers and he would go out to Sri Lanka. They used to make like chipboards out of agricultural waste and obviously tractors and things like that. And my dad and my mum must have spoke to Dennis about, I was only about 16, about getting me onto my career journey because I was only working in a cafe. And I got an interview, for a receptionist, and Dennis got me in there, and I got it.
Oh wow!
And that was the start of it. And it was like, oh my, I thought I was living the dream. I remember. This is embarrassing, really. But I remember.
Tell us all.
Obviously, not knowing how to dress professionally. Don't look at me down here, but not knowing how to dress professionally in an office. So I had my first job, and I remember the senior secretary taking me out and getting me like suits and shirts and things like that for work. But I loved it, and it was one of those great big, switchboards, and it was 2 companies. So I would answer the calls for both sites, for Trap Marshall and for Compact Systems. Oh, and I loved it. And it was very traditional board meeting. They would smoke in the office. But it was a great company to work for. I loved it.
And that's that was the kind of start of your
That was the very start.
journey.
I was 17,
Wow.
16, 17, and I worked there for about 4 or 5 years.
I mean, let me ask you now, if you were to interview, because you manage a team,
Yeah.
do you ask now, does the number of words per minute count anymore? No.
No, I don't know.
Does touch typing count anymore in terms of the new, your team that are coming in now? Is that these skills that you had that you're looking for now in people?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not looking, I got shorthand. I went to a night school and I did shorthand. Yeah. I don't look for shorthand. I don't look for touch typing. My daughter's type faster than me now.
I remember, I'd go to recruitment firms and they'd be like, can you just type on this computer before you go? And I was like, I was a one-finger typer. I'm not I don't know how to touch type. I used to watch people in amazement when they used to touch type.
That sort of, you say look in amazement. That I remember that was the thing that I always wanted. When I was a young child, I wanted.
Well, there used to be courses on how to touch type.
Yeah, I trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trained. I did my hours. I went to night school to do shorthand and all of that.
So have you always worked in the finance sector?
No. So that was manufacturing. That was my first sort of 4 years. That was up in sort of Lincolnshire. And then when I was 18, my sister got an opportunity to work. She worked for a company that was based in, I thought it was Birmingham, it was Merry Hill.
Okay.
But I thought I was going to Merry. Anyway, she got me an opportunity to move down, and it was a big thing again because I got that want to leave this village and move to somewhere that I could sort of develop. So I got an opportunity to move down to it was Merry Hill Way, and I worked for a broker that sold Hewlett-Packard computers and Dell computers. Again,
were they massive, like huge?
No. So no, not at all. It was just a smallish firm. But there were,
No, sorry, I mean
gone.
at the actual computers themselves. I mean,
God,
back in the day, do you remember?
Totally,
It used to be like modems and
That's
all
it.
that.
Yeah, all of that. But I was just on reception. But that was like my move from Lincolnshire down to here. So I worked for them for about 4 years, and then that was sort of in Halesowen way. And I was desperate. I remember having that feeling that I wanted to move away from reception work.
Yeah.
And I was starting to do a little bit more admin. I was doing sort of invoices and things like that. And I wanted to be seen as a admin person, not reception. So I remember that feeling of wanting to progress.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to work in the city. I wanted to come in and work in the city. I wanted to have that feeling of commuting and being part of something. So I moved there, and then I moved to, it was Chesterton's at the time. Was it Chesterton's? Yeah, I think it was. It was a chartered surveyors.
Chartered surveyors.
Yeah,
okay,
chartered surveyors. So I worked for chartered surveyors, and then I went to work for HSBC. So I worked for HSBC for about 4 or 5 years, and then had Charlotte. And then I moved to education.
Okay.
And I went into education. So Ree, that you've interviewed, I used to work for another school that she knows.
Wow.
For another
So what was it like going from corporate into education, especially after having a child?
Yeah, it was good. It didn't, that coming out of education back into corporate was hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so going in was great because it fitted around my family. I'd got kids and everything. I really enjoyed that. That was a key moment actually, because when I moved into education working in a school, I was working, we were one of the first teaching schools in the country. So I was looking at that, you know, and those that wanted to become teachers onto the training programme. So before you'd only do your PGCE through university, now it was on the job training, and I love that. And that's where that passion of learning and on the job training, which you know that I'm really passionate about, and I love that. So it was supporting those, recruiting for it, designing the qualification, so working with universities, supporting all the students, making sure they're getting that experience in secondary and primary schools, but also the variety, you know, doing all the students' timetables throughout the year, learning observations, working with the
I think that's really, it's so lovely, because I think so many people work in the corporate world.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
And going into government education or charities, for example, is a very, very different world. And I feel like people get a bit nervous about going into those worlds because of how much structure there is there, etc. But it's the variety of things that you do.
So varied, and I loved it. That was a key moment really for me for progressing, because I grew in the school. I've never worked for an organisation, an industry where they absolutely are invested in progressing you, developing you. You know, there was no course, no training programme that was, you know, they were, if anything, they were pushing me to do it. It was lovely. So I had a real sort of, you know, catapult up, you know, to a level there.
So when you went back into the corporate world again, you mentioned that was a shock to the system a bit.
I thought I'd walk it because, I mean, as I say, I worked for manufacturing, I'd done banking, I worked for chartered surveyors as well as, you know, education. Yeah. So I thought, gosh, you know, my CV's amazing. I've got all this, you know, variety. But actually, it was really difficult because they only ever look, recruiters or companies when recruiting, only look in front of the you know, 2 foot in front of themselves. So they only looked at the last job.
Oh, so they didn't take into account any of your background?
No, they didn't look at, you know, that I'd worked in banking and, you know, and I'd done all of this. They only ever saw that I'd worked in education. So, I found that quite difficult, really. And then that's when, obviously, JW Hinks, you know, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this little company, because I'd always worked for big companies.
So you were quite surprised, weren't you, that I knew Neil, the managing director, because I'd been out to a networking event, I'd met Neil, and this is before we met each other, isn't it? And it wasn't long after I met Neil that we set up the PA Forum about 10 years ago. And you were one of the first people that came to one of our first events.
Gosh, I hadn't even, can you remember what month that you started it?
November.
I started in November.
Wow.
That's right. So,
and I remember, I will never forget, you came in and you were the first person that said to me, this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Straight away.
I'd never had any, so yeah, that's absolutely true, because there was never anything. So whenever you're progressing up through your career or in any industry, you don't know if you're doing a good job. You don't know what's out there. You don't know what salaries you should be expecting. You don't know what training courses, what skills you should be having. Benchmarking, sharing best practice.
Conversations.
Yeah.
Just how when you've had a crap day and you're like, oh my God, my boss has done my head in today. And actually you're just like, well, you just need to vent. Like we're human, aren't we?
Or even, somebody says, oh, we need to do this. Can you get that implemented? And you go, oh God, where am I going to start with that? I never had anybody to go to and go, oh God, I need to do this. How I saw you've, never had any of that. So when I started at JW Hinks, it was Jenny that I worked for. She was a partner that was retiring. So I was there to help with the transition. And she was like, I think it was in the paper. Do you think it was in the paper? An advert?
It was. So we basically when I started the PA Forum in November 2016, I was working at Park Regis in Birmingham at the time, a hotel, and we were patron members of the chamber. And I remember we paid like tens of thousands of pounds to be patron members. And basically, if you're that level of membership of the chamber, you go to them and say, I'm thinking about doing this, can you help me?
Right.
And they sent it out to their entire database. And you, Tracy Payton, were probably one of the first 5 people that came back to me and went, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember
and
Tracy,
then I remember just seeing your face as you walked through the door and you could see lots of people there. But you'd already had experience of networking in your role before the PA Forum, hadn't you? Had you?
I don't think I had.
Or when you got
no, that's not true. I did a little bit with work, not much though.
Was it an expectation of when you went for that job at JW Hinks? Did you know that networking was kind of going to be part of your role that you needed to do?
Yeah.
Not necessarily with the PA Forum, but externally.
No, it wasn't at that time. I mean, I'd done a little bit of networking because when I worked at the school, I was a governor as well. I was a staff governor, and I used to work for the local county council.
Did you volunteer to be the governor?
Yes, so they needed a staff governor, so I volunteered, and you went through a bit of a process. But I also worked for Worcestershire County Council. So when there was an emergency, something had gone on, they would call in a clerk, and I went and did that.
I think just while you've mentioned that, because something's just popped into my mind, I went to an event and there was there's an organisation called Women on Boards.
Yeah.
And this organisation was encouraging women within organisations to volunteer to become on boards.
Yeah,
because I think the experience that you get from that,
absolutely,
even if it is within the school, within a charitable organisation, anything, the experience that you must get from that is kind of
absolutely
can support you within your role.
It totally did, So I as a staff governor, I sat on boards and obviously did that, and then obviously going to other schools and seeing how other boards and work as a clerk there. That was quite challenging. There were some challenging schools and things that I did there, but absolutely,
Would you say
really
that
helped.
being on a board, then when you were doing your job, helped you be able to raise your voice, but be able to articulate what you wanted to say when you were in those board meetings?
Not necessarily, because I think I'm still learning that, if I'm being honest. But it absolutely helped. It helped listening to conversations around the room. It helped form my opinion about things. So it's definitely valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big believer in observing.
Well, let's use the example. When we started the PA Forum, I remember I think there was 26 people on one committee, and somebody said to me, "Oh my God, how on earth? You've never had a committee before, have you?" I was like, "No." And then I basically just was like, "Does anyone want to come and help me?" And they were like, "Yeah." And then we divided up the committees into an awards committee, a learning and development committee, a social committee, etc. And you were one of the first people that volunteered your time to help us on our learning and development committee, didn't you?
Yeah.
Why did you choose to do that?
Probably from my experience with the school, and I did a YTS. I didn't go to university, because I'm very much a visual person, and that's how I learn. So I'm quite passionate about that, and I think working in a school and realising that in a classroom that all children and everybody learns differently, and you've got to be able to offer variety and scope, to learn and develop. So I was quite passionate about that. And so I think that being in the education sector totally helped with that passion, and I wanted to build on that. And really excited about having a Birmingham PA Forum where people like myself
Yeah.
had somewhere to go, someone that we could approach, learning, having somewhere to learn and upskill, share best practice. So I was really passionate about, still am.
So 2019, when we did our first conference, how did you feel about our first ever conference?
Oh, you do it all the time. I was nervous, really nervous as hell about it, and the numbers and all of that.
Content, I think, as well. I think what I love is your passion for content, because whenever we have a speaker, we work with a speaker, and whatever the session's going to be, those key takeaways are so important for you, because you want that tangible
That's right.
evidence of what you've come out of the office for the day.
Yes.
And when you've come out,
That's
what
right.
is it that people are taking back in?
I know, I go on and on about that, don't
No, but it's great, though.
Yeah, because it's exactly what you've just said there. You've got, it's a lot of PAs, I can imagine, find it very difficult to get a day out of the office or get in their organisations to understand the value of going to a conference. And I'm still very keen on getting leaders there so they can see.
I think you've always been great at that. You've brought your managing director.
I did. I brought him
to 2 or 3 of our conferences now, haven't you?
Because they need to see it. I'm not just saying this to you, Dan, but they're so well organised, and the content is so great. The speakers are so amazing. There is so much value out of them, and I'm saying this personally. There's so much value out of them that when any of them go back, you're on a buzz, you're going, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I spoke to this one.
I'll never forget our second conference at Conference Aston, and we did EA and executive for 5 different sectors, and Lucy Brazier was interviewing them, and I went outside after the session, and all of those CEOs and directors were standing in a circle, and I walked past them and they went, excuse me, who on earth was that woman that just interviewed us? And I went, Lucy Brazier, and they went, she was incredible, because she challenged them, but she challenged them so positively, didn't she?
Because I don't think leaders, or CEOs, managing directors, partners, heads of departments, they don't see us as an industry. They just see us as a support function. And Lucy's so passionate about championing the career pathways for, and I don't get hung up on titles. I'm very feel that titles are changing. When I started out, it was department assistant and then a secretary and But Lucy Brazier is very good at sort of driving awareness around the value that an admin function provides to an organisation. And I don't think leaders see that. I think some businesses go, oh, it's just admin. But when they hear Lucy or most of the speakers, or all of them, it's not, we are a key instrumental part to the success of a business.
And when you've brought your MD with you to these events, what's their feedback been
Dan
like
thought
afterwards?
It was amazing because they're so well organised. And I know that the content of these conferences, it's not just for office professionals.
No.
It's for everybody. I've got managers within my firm and partners within my firm that I know would benefit for a lot of the content, and I'd love to get them there. Dan thought it was great. We've got some great speakers that day. Got Rebecca Mander, and we spoke about AI a lot that session, and it was just so well organised as well. Dan
let's talk about your journey. I know you were talking about titles, but when you first started working with JW Hinks, you mentioned that you supported one of the partners. Was your role then executive assistant, personal assistant, office manager? Because you've had such a varied role.
It is. I think I started off as a PA. I got took on to help with the transition of Jenny. When she retired. So then when she retired, I became EA but administration manager. So I took on the administration function.
And how many administrators are kind of within the organisation?
There was only about a bit 4, and that's like the receptionist. There was a clerk and a couple of PAs, very traditional PAs. But there was nobody managing them. It was all a bit sort of here. So my role was really to sort of to bring
the
it in,
department together.
to make it a department, to make it an admin function,
Yeah.
and bring them together. I mean, the department's grown, you know, a lot since with the business.
What's it like now compared to?
Oh, it's grown, yeah. So and we've had a couple of apprentices come through the business as well, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
So you know, and I know that some of the other members have took on apprentices, but that was unheard of before.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you have to? Did you passionately push for that?
Yeah, I did. It was a little bit again because it's different.
Yeah.
So I did have to push for a little bit, but they saw the benefit of it. So yeah, that was great. I mean, the department's grown and it's still growing.
Yeah.
Still growing.
So as you've grown through your role, like Hannah, you work with is like your right hand woman, isn't she?
She is. She's
like,
fab, yeah,
so she's now taking the reins on kind of.
She has
really developing and managing the team, hasn't she?
Yeah. So Hannah's been made administration manager.
Yeah.
So she oversees the team now, and she's doing a great job.
But when you first started working with Hannah, did you ever think that's kind of the role that she would have wanted to do?
No, but I knew so when we recruited for Hannah, we needed somebody quite strong to sort of come in. We were really. We needed somebody to sort of, you know, be able to take the sort of the tracking and pick up a lot of the partners as well. I mean, it seems so long ago, if I'm being honest, but she was brilliant. I mean, the minute we interviewed her, she was just fabulous. Yeah. And I mean, she just got us as well. She's really got the JW Hinks ethos, and she just fitted in. And it's so much easier to work with someone who's on that same, she's got the same passions, the same, so it's so much easier.
And I think it's always easier, isn't it? I think we see this with law firms and accountancy firms. When it's billable time, it's really easy to see whether they should be out of the office or people should be in the office or supporting, etc. You've always been very much, you like to be in the office a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
And you encourage your team to be in the office a lot, don't you, as well?
Yeah, they do. Hannah does splits her time. So she likes to have some time at home.
Yeah.
So she does, I think, 2 days at home and 3 days in the office, or 3 days at home and 2 days in the office. And that works for her. Rhoda, she doesn't like to be at home. She likes to be in the office. She's very traditional.
Saw her on Tuesday.
Very traditional.
Love her. She's great.
So she's fab. She's got a wealth of knowledge. But yeah, so Rhoda likes to be in the office.
And if you don't mind me asking, like Rhoda, has she where she's been within her career, she's been quite happy staying where she is, isn't she?
She has, yeah. She's worked for, JW Hinks bought out a couple of companies over the years, like in 2012. Yeah. And Rhoda came with one of the companies, so she's worked with Marcus since she was 16.
Wow, really?
Yeah, she hasn't moved anywhere. But
that's incredible.
Yeah,
and so she's adapted to change with throughout all that time.
Totally. She's seen so many changes and changes in legislation that she's had to keep abreast of, really, because there's so much change. Yeah, she does great.
So tell us about Director of Operations.
Yes.
So you were EA to the Managing Director. And you've also recently had a change of MD, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've worked with Neil for like 10 years.
Is that hard when you work with somebody for
emotional.
Is it?
It's emotional, yeah.
And he's a character.
He is, you know Neil.
He's character.
Yeah.
You'll know when Neil walks into the room, I tell you.
So he's retiring, which is...
How does he feel about retiring?
Well, I don't know, because it's really, honestly, I can't tell you how emotional,
how
emotional it is. But at first I think, it's his decision.
Yeah, of course.
It's his decision. But I think he was a bit, because he's a bit of a control freak. He's a born auditor. So his attention to detail and being organised, he's so organised, it's amazing.
Is that hard?
I think it's hard for him. Yeah. I think it's hard. I think it was hard for him to sort of let go. You know, I think it's really hard for him to let go. But he's just spent a month in India and he's come back and he was like, no, I'm ready.
Oh, is he?
I'm ready.
Oh, right, okay,
yeah. He wants to travel. So, you know,
But also, I can't imagine, so Dan, the managing director, love Dan, brilliant. I met him the first time at the awards a couple of years ago, and we actually met having shots at the bar, which we said earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
And basically, what was really great was seeing you in your element, I think, because you were around, surrounded by your community. You'd had a great night. You'd been nominated. You were a finalist in the PA of the Year Award.
Yeah.
And we were at the bar, and
Yeah.
I saw you being very assertive, which
Yeah.
is what I love, because
Yeah.
you're passionate about your career,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
passionate about where you want to go, and I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, I can't imagine how hard it's been as well to have a managing director exiting,
Yeah.
a new one that you're working with really closely.
Yeah.
But also a change in your career and your team all at the same time.
All at the same time. Yeah, it's a big moment.
That's what I mean.
It's a big moment.
You should be really proud.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
But what do you know? How have you enjoyed this? Has it, you know, it's obviously a mixture of emotions, but have you enjoyed?
I am. I mean, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I think you constantly learn. Yeah, it's really enjoying because it's difficult letting go. But luckily, I've got the confidence in Hannah, and I know that she can do it really well.
Yeah.
You know, she's so capable, and she probably does things a lot better than me. So I feel really confident in Hannah picking up from where I've left off with the team and driving it in a direction where it needs to be. But it's difficult letting go, but I'm really excited in being able to concentrate on developing the business as opposed to getting caught up in the day-to-day admin.
So let's just focus on this for a bit, because a lot of our members would be like, "What's next? What's next?" And we found out at a conference last year. Somebody came up to me who was a director of operations for Ashton University, and she said to me, or an operations manager, and she said, "I didn't think I was welcome at this community because it's called PA Forum."
Yeah.
And obviously, without us changing the name, which we built so hard for 10 years to build up, what we want people to understand is that everyone is welcome.
Absolutely.
But also, when I get so many emails, Fee, from so many people that go, "I'm not a PA anymore, so can you take me off your main list?" Or "I'm not a PA anymore, I don't need to come." These events, our members want to learn about people who have gone on to do different roles or different job titles, or who have moved into project management. And I always want people to still come and share that experience with them. I think
we spoke about this before. I've got a real nervousness about the titles. You know, being a PA or an EA, because they're just changing and evolving all the time. And I think with new ones coming in, new apprentices and people coming into the industry are getting caught up on, I don't know where I fit in the membership because my title's not a PA, or I'm not an EA, I'm not this, I'm not that. I might be a departmental coordinator, I might be a project assistant, I might be, and so it's all of that, all the titles are changing and evolving over the years. And so the forum is for everybody. I mean, even leaders, I would say.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, like it's how many people have we interviewed who started their career as a PA or a secretary and have become director or partner of a law firm, or it shows the transferable skills and the amazing skills that you have. But how would you, in the life of a director of operations, how have you found your feet with what sorts of things are you doing now that's different to your role that you were doing?
So it's very different. I'm trying to let go of the day-to-day admin, but it's very much sort of implementing procedures and policies, making sure legislation is that we're robust. I work a lot on compliance, a lot of HR, do a lot of HR, employment law, making sure that we're where we need to be. I work a lot with the marketing team, so I do a lot of marketing and developing it, very much about making sure our culture, it's all about our culture, making sure that our staff are listened to. We're investing in our staff, we're training our staff. We've got a skilled workforce that want to work for us, that we're an employer of choice, and we're developing that, and that we've got a progression for our workforce.
And have you literally defined your role?
Yeah.
You've gone, I can look at all of this. I want to take all of this on.
Well, we've all, I suppose, like with Neil and Dan, and it's always been bubbling.
It's built up over time. All these things that needed to be looked at.
Years ago, I did this umbrella. I had this vision years ago, but I was never in a position to sort of drive it forward. I feel with my role and with Dan, I'm suddenly in a position where I can actually drive it forward. So I've always had that. of how I wanted the culture to be and how I wanted things to be within the firm. But I'm suddenly in this position now where I can actually make it happen. It's really fulfilling, fulfilling.
I think when we first started, we talked about confidence in this profession.
Yeah.
Because I think one thing, I share this statistic a lot. When we did our conference at Millennium Point many years ago, we had 60%. We had 240 PAs within an auditorium, and I said, raise your hand if you paid for your own ticket to come to this conference today. And 60% put their hand up and said, I paid for my own ticket. Then I said, put your hand up again if you took today as a day's annual leave. And pretty much most of the people that paid for their own ticket also took a precious day's annual leave. Yeah. And then we asked, raise your hand if you asked your boss. And half of them didn't.
No.
And I feel like in our industry, as much as I love this profession, we do sometimes have a bit of a crisis of confidence.
Yeah.
But you are, I think, are the perfect, great story and example of how you've overcome those barriers with confidence throughout your career to get to where you are now, because you have championed and challenged decisions that are made within business, asked questions, been inquisitive, found out the things that you love and that you're passionate about. Yeah. And I think that is so important.
That's definitely a skill. I mean, you're so lovely, Dan. Honestly, I don't feel like that sometimes, but you're absolutely right. And I think, if I could look back at my younger self, it would be, to have those skills earlier on, to be inquisitive, to ask. I think it's really sad that a lot of the PAs still to this day, aren't given the opportunity to come to the conference, for it to be paid, or that they're still taking holiday. The admin function, I'm really passionate about that. There's no business, there's no industry or firm that can't function without an administration function in whatever shape or form that is. We're fundamental to the success of the business. It's not just about getting letters and invoices out the door. It's about dealing with clients and customers, customer service. It's about marketing, promoting. It's about culture.
Creating a happy workplace.
Happy workplace, making sure that we're all compliant within whatever legislation we're working within. And also communication and making sure that I'm very much, have seen myself as a barrier, you do that as well, a bridge to get, when you connect people, one person to another, one department to another, so you should be speaking to this person. They're doing that, you should be speaking to them.
But isn't that amazing that you're the facilitator?
Yeah.
Like that is you are by networking, talking to people, understanding about their roles, getting to know them, finding out more about them. You are that person that has that that valuable knowledge that is, and you've built that from scratch.
And connecting people,
So if anyone was watching this and it was the first time they ever thought, I'm not just PA Forum, but engaging with any PA network across the UK, their first event, like you did, what would you say? What was your advice been?
Absolutely do it. It's nerve-wracking. I remember walking into that room with Trey. I think it was Tracy that I went up to. It's absolutely nerve-wracking, sort of networking, and if you've never done it before. But the community that I've got now, I've got friends now. I've got friends, and I can pick up the phone. I do often. I will email someone and go, I'm stuck. I need to do this. I need to implement this. Can you help me? And, a lot of the community is about friendship, sharing, best practice, pointing us, in the right direction, offering advice and how to do something within my own. I get stuck in my role and I will contact Faye or anybody and say, can you help me? I've done this, or, have I done it right? What do you think? And that's invaluable to me, because when I first started out, at a very young age, there was never anything like that. Yeah. And you were sort of going through your career blind. Now I've got a whole network around me that can help me grow, can help my confidence, supports me. Of friends, the awards, they help train me. We
learn so much from each other,
and it's so invaluable.
Well, you have been a massive part of our journey over these past 10 years, which is incredible, and put learning and development right at the heart of everything that we do, which I think is amazing. So thank you so much for coming and spilling the tea and spending some time with me today, Fee. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to see. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you.